What's up guys, it's Cameron from Murf Electric Bikes here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to fix a flat tire. We're going to be doing the rear tire today just because it's a little bit more difficult. If you can do that, then you can definitely do the front. It's the same process. So tools you're going to need are an 18mm crescent wrench, something to cut zip ties with. We have a pair of cable snips right here, but scissors will work as well. A tire lever. This one's plastic and usually has a little pry bar at the end. You'll need 2 zip ties and obviously the tube. So we're going to take the battery out first. Slide this guy up. And then I like to let it rest right here on the back. That way you don't have to take it all the way out, but the contacts still aren't touching the bottom of the battery. From there, I'm going to hold the rear brake and flip the bike over. Just pulling back. And laying it down gently. So from here, there's 2 zip ties I need to cut. I've got the cable snips right here. You can use scissors if you want, just be careful. I'm going to cut right here. Miss the cut. Take that off. And one right here. Make sure not to cut this cable. Next thing, you'll see there's 2 arrows right here. I'm just going to pull these guys apart to disconnect the motor. From there, I'm going to take the 18mm wrench and just unscrew both sides right here. So I took the cap off from right here. Most of your bikes will have that. Just putting it on and undoing it. Same thing on the other side. Take the cap off. And undoing it. From here, I like to just bang on both sides of the tires because sometimes the vibrations will help loosen everything up. So just give it 3 or 4 bangs. And then from there, I grab from the inside of the rim and just pull up. Slide it out from the chain. Make sure nothing gets caught right there and pull out. Now that the tire's off, I'm gonna take the tube out. So if it's not already done, this was a flat tire, so it was already flat, but if not, say you have a slow leak or something, you're just gonna wanna let all the air out, and this is a Presta stem, so you had to unscrew it and push that guy in to get the air out. But since this is already flat, I'm just going to take this out. Got to take the nut off first. So from here, separate the tire from the rim. We'll put the rim aside for now. And then take the old tube out of the tire and then just toss that. From there, I like to just run my hand around here at least 2 times, sometimes 3, just to make sure that there's no staples or anything or wire or whatever caused the flat tire. Make sure it's still not in there. Otherwise, your tire's just going to go flat again. And already I can feel some hard piece in here. So I'm going to grab a pair of cable pliers and pull that out. We'll open up the new tube. And we're going to go inflate this guy. So this is another Presta stem tube right here. You can tell because on it I had to take off these 2 pieces. It's like the cap and the ring that goes around the base of the stem. So I took both of those off. I'm going to go ahead now and loosen the very tip of it on there. Just rotating counterclockwise. And then these tubes are a little different where you have to push down on them first, get them fully loosened. So from here, I'm just going to attach the air compressor. You can use a normal bike pump as well, that'll work. But from here, I'm just going to inflate this guy just enough so it's not going to fold on itself. Something like right there is probably fine, just so it keeps the integrity of the entire tube. So now I'm going to put it back in our original tire. Just kind of stuff it in. Should fit pretty well. So to get the tire back on the rim, what I like to do is line up the tread direction with the arrow that signifies which way the motor spins. So if you look on all of our bikes, there's going to be an arrow right here, right next to the Bafang logo. And then I line that up with the same tread direction that's on the side of the tire. This one, I believe, is on right here. And just make sure they're pointing the same direction. So I'm going to flip that guy over. They're both facing towards me. I'm going to slide the stem through the hole on the tire, or on the rim. Pull it on through. And then I'll take the ring that goes on the base of the Presta stem. Keep that on. And that's what will hold this to the tire, or to the rim. From there, I'll just use my thumb to push it through, make sure that one side is on the rim. You can kind of see that, how it's somewhat lined up all the way around. And then I'll push the rest through. And you can see it's still not perfect, but once we inflate it, it will be. And then I'll take the tire lever tool that we use. I like to just keep one side in like that, hold it down with my thumb, and then just go all the way around. You'll see it starts to take shape. One thing to note here too is that you'll notice there's these little almost like ridges throughout the entire tire, and you want those to be uniform all the way around. The way it sits right now, you can see a bunch of the ridges up here but none down here. So before I pump this up, I want to make sure that's as uniform as I can get it. So we're going to pump this up. We put the fat tires here at about 18 to 20 psi. Taking it off periodically to check those ridges. Looks pretty good. Fill up the remaining psi. That should be good there. So I'll take the Presta stem, tighten that guy all the way down so no air escapes. Make sure the ring at the bottom is fully tightened. Put the stem cap on. And we're ready to put this guy back on the frame. So on here, before I put it on, I'm gonna put the nuts and the washers all the way to as far as I can towards the outside, and leave these washers with the tabs on the inside. So that guy right there. Same thing on the other side over here. And then I'll put these guys straight down. I really want those to be facing straight down so they fit into the slot. So once I have those tab washers facing all the way straight down, just lift up the tire and start guiding it in. Lift up the chain, put it anywhere on the cluster. And then this part can be kind of difficult sometimes, but as long as you kind of get it guided on one side, it makes the rest of it a little bit easier. Try to push this and get that one in. And then the last thing to note is that there's also the brake caliper that you have to line the disc up with. It's not quite lined up right now, but I can maneuver the tire to make sure it is. Just like that. If you line up the washers and the nut at the end with these wear marks right here, you won't have to adjust the brakes because the tire will be sitting in the same position that it was before. So, I don't know if you can see that on there. A little ring right there. I'm just going to push the washer in, make sure it lines up somewhat, and tighten by hand at first. Then do the same thing on the other side. You can see this one's not quite lined up, so I'm going to lift it up. Hold it in place with my left hand, and tighten that guy by hand as well. Then I'll look down the top of the line from the tire, make sure that the middle of the tire is lined up with this little tab right here. Looks pretty good from here, so now I will tighten everything down for the last part. Using that same 18mm wrench we used to take it off, we're going to tighten it down with. And that's on pretty tight. I'll give it a final spin, make sure the brakes aren't rubbing. So that one's rubbing a bit, so we'll have to do another video where we show you how to adjust the brakes. But at least the tire's back on, so we'll start reconnecting everything. That same motor cable that we disconnected in the beginning, we're going to reconnect now, and this is where it gets important that the battery's out. If it is still attached from here, it can cause some residual charge and actually spark right here. But since it's out, there's nothing there. To line that up, you just have this arrow right here on this end. This one's a little bit faded, but you can see the remnants of it. And I'll just make sure those are lined up, push them together. And then I've got two zip ties right here. One's just going to go through this little tab and hold this guy down. And then this one's going to go towards the back, not going around the shifting cable, just the motor cable. Tighten that down. Looks pretty good. So we'll give these guys a snip. And then from there, we're just going to flip the bike back over. It can be a little difficult because the bikes are heavy. Just go slow and be careful. Same thing, using the brake to help guide this down. And that's it. That's how you fix a flat tire.